Title: If you ever receive a letter postmarked from Drowned Bridge, burn it before midnight and never speak the name again. I've never written anything like this before, and I don't want to now, but I also don't want to be the last voice that dies with the truth. If you're reading this, and you haven't received the letter yet, you're still safe. For now. But if that envelope ever shows up, old paper, sealed in wax with a black tree insignia, your name scrawled in brown ink that smells faintly of mildew and river water, you must destroy it immediately. Don't open it. Don't even touch it with bare hands. I didn't know any of that when mine came. It arrived on a Monday morning, wedged between a pile of junk mail. No return address, just my full name and a strange postmark at the top: Drowned Bridge, Western Lake Province, return to sender. The stamp was smudged and faded, like it had been through water, several times. I thought it was some mistake. I've never even heard of a place called Drowned Bridge. There's no such state. No such province. Google turned up nothing. My curiosity got the better of me. I opened it. The paper inside felt wrong. Too thick, almost leathery. It smelled like rotten cold rain. Written in cramped cursive was a note. You have been selected for witness. 7 nights remain until the crossing. Your silence will not save you now. That was it. No instructions. No signature. No threats. Just those 3 lines. I laughed it off. Tossed the letter into a drawer. I didn't sleep much that night. Something kept creaking near my window, not the kind of creak wood makes when it settles, but the kind a floorboard makes when someone's standing still, deciding whether to move closer. On the second night, I found wet footprints in the hallway leading to my bedroom. Not muddy. Not dirty. Just perfectly shaped puddles, barefoot, narrow, child-sized, trailing from the front door straight to my bed. I live alone. By the third night, things got worse. I woke up with my hands submerged in freezing water. My entire bed was dry except the space under my fingers, where a shallow pool had formed and shimmered under the moonlight. I got up, shaking, and ran to the bathroom, only to find the same footprints on the tile. This time they were facing the mirror. But nothing was there. The fourth night, I saw her. She stood at the edge of my backyard. A girl in a soaked funeral dress, hair covering her face, arms limp at her sides. Water streamed from her mouth. Not dripped, poured, like someone had filled her lungs and now gravity was pulling it out. Her skin was pale, not white but blue, like a drowned corpse pulled from ice. And she didn't blink. Not even once. I turned the lights off, thinking maybe it was a trick of the dark. But when I turned them back on, she was at the window. That's when I started researching. That's when I found the stories. The whispers. Deep message boards with threads buried for years, posts deleted before you could even screenshot them. Everyone spoke of the same letter. The same name, Drowned Bridge. Every victim had opened it. All of them had reported hallucinations, water damage in places that made no sense, and eventually, vanishing. No bodies. Just a faint smell of mildew where they were last seen. Some said they heard bells in the distance before disappearing. Last night, I heard them. Faint. Echoing. Like a church bell ringing from the bottom of a lake. The girl appeared again. This time inside my kitchen. She was closer. Her eyes were wide and glossy like she was still trapped beneath the surface of something I couldn't see. When I tried to speak, she opened her mouth and screamed. But it wasn't a scream made for human ears. It was wet, gurgling, layered with sounds like snapping bones and bubbling air. I felt blood trickle from my nose, my ears. I don't even remember hitting the floor. I just woke up in the morning, throat sore, ears ringing, hands wrinkled like I'd spent hours in water. Now I know the final step is coming. The crossing. The moment they pull me over. But I won't go quietly. I'm writing this while I still have control of my hands. Before they wrinkle too much to grip the keys. I've outlined what you must do if the letter ever comes. Print these. Tattoo them. Burn them into your memory. Because they are the only reason I lasted this long. Rules to survive the letter from Drowned Bridge. 1. If you receive the letter, burn it before midnight the same day. Never open it. 2. If you open it, destroy the paper, seal your windows with salt water, and sleep surrounded by dry earth. 3. Do not speak the name Drowned Bridge aloud after reading the letter. It binds the invitation. 4. If you see the girl, do not run. Stand still. Close your eyes. Hum. She can't find you in song. 5. If water begins pooling where it shouldn't, do not touch it with bare skin. Cover the puddles with dry cloth and leave them until morning. 6. If you hear bells, do not leave your house under any circumstances. Even if someone you know knocks on your door. 7. Never follow her voice. Even if it calls you by name. Even if it sounds like your mother. I can hear her dripping in the next room now. She's humming something. It sounds like me. I don't think I'll last the 7th night. Don't let her send you the next letter. Don't let Drowned Bridge remember your name. Because once it does, it's not just the girl who comes for you. It's them. All of them. I realized this on the 6th night, when the water damage began to spread beyond the house, into things that shouldn't hold moisture. My books curled like dead leaves, their spines swollen and pages stuck together. The light bulbs flickered constantly, no matter how many times I replaced them, as though the air was too damp for electricity to function correctly. And the air. God, the air. Every breath tasted like algae and copper. It was like I was breathing through someone else's lungs, lungs that had spent too long submerged in still water. It was when I turned on the radio that I knew I was no longer alone. There was no station. No voice. Just static and a sound in the static. Like whispering. Distant but deliberate. My name, spoken backwards, over and over, in a voice that wasn't human. Wet syllables slurred around it, dripping through the speakers. Then it went silent. Only for a second. And then I heard it. The sound of splintering wood downstairs. I thought the front door had burst open. I rushed out of the room, only to find the door untouched. But the floor beneath it was warped and slick with moisture, the wood bubbling upward like something was growing beneath it. I stepped back slowly. That's when I noticed the footprints again. Not small this time. Larger. Wider. Bare and grotesque, as if someone had stomped through the wet floorboards from underneath. The girl hadn't been alone. I wasn't being followed anymore. I was being hunted. And Drowned Bridge had sent more than one thing. That night, I tried not to sleep. I sat in the middle of my kitchen, surrounded by every light I owned. Candles. Flashlights. Even the TV on full brightness, static hissing like a warning I could no longer ignore. But my eyes burned. My body was too cold. Too heavy. I must have nodded off, because when I opened my eyes again, it was raining inside the house. Not dripping. Raining. From the ceiling. From the walls. From the vents. And it wasn't water. It smelled of stagnant lake mud and flesh left too long in shallow graves. It made my skin itch instantly, and when I wiped it off my face, it came away black, thick, and full of silt. My vision swam. My knees buckled. And as I fell, I saw them. Dozens of them. Figures standing along the walls, dripping in silence. All facing me. All drenched. All forgotten. They didn't move like people. They didn't move at all. They just stared with eyeless sockets, skin bloated and slick, hands twitching gently with the rhythm of the rain. One by one, they opened their mouths, and water poured out. Not a trickle. A torrent. Gallons at once, surging from their throats like reverse drowning. My kitchen floor was flooding in seconds. They didn't blink. They didn't breathe. They only watched as the water rose and rose and rose, until it was at my chest. Then my neck. Then the lights went out. I was dragged under. Not into the floor. Not into some metaphysical dream space. Somewhere else. Somewhere real. Somewhere deep. I was standing, or maybe floating, beneath a black sky that rippled like fabric underwater. Around me were broken pieces of homes, mailboxes, street signs, bicycles, and entire trees upside down, hanging in the air like someone had drowned a town and left it suspended in time. And in the center of it all, a bridge. Cracked. Rotten. Shimmering. And standing at its center, the girl. She no longer looked like a girl. Her limbs had stretched, her mouth reaching from ear to ear, her hands webbed and lined with tiny, barnacle-like growths. Strings of hair floated around her like tendrils. But her face still had my eyes. She smiled, and I heard the bells again. Not church bells this time. Warning bells. Shipwreck bells. Deep, clanging rings echoing from below the bridge. Something massive stirred beneath it. A ripple. A movement. The entire landscape shuddered. I was being summoned. Drowned Bridge wasn't just a name. It was a place. A threshold between the living and the drowned. A gateway submerged so long ago that the world forgot it existed, but it never forgot us. It remembers every name spoken near the water. Every person who drowned with fear in their throat and breath in their chest. It remembers those who read the letter and did nothing. It remembered me. And when the girl pointed behind me, I turned. There was a second bridge. Smaller. Fractured. Half-finished. with dozens of people trapped on it, screaming silently, frozen mid-run, their bodies waterlogged, stuck in some limbo between memory and death. And on that bridge, near the edge, was a new figure. Still dry. Still breathing. Still looking for a way out. He had just opened the letter. And he looked exactly like you. He stood at the edge of the cracked, moss-riddled road that bled into Drowned Bridge, water lapping at his boots in slow, synchronized waves. The moonlight bounced off his face, your face, with unsettling precision. Every twitch of his cheek, every blink of his eyes was mirrored in your memory. But his grin was wrong. It stretched a little too far, showing too many teeth, and his pupils were wide, swallowing the whites like black holes. He raised his hand slowly, your hand, but it was slick with something wet and black, dripping into the stream below like oil. When he spoke, his voice came out in two tones, your own, and something ancient layered beneath it like a shadow speaking from your lungs. You already stepped wrong, he said. It knows. Behind him, the trees lining the swamp began to pulse with an eerie bioluminescent glow, not unlike the will-o'-the-wisps people whispered about in childhood tales. But they weren't friendly. Each light began to move against the wind, weaving toward the bridge like a silent parade of warnings too late to heed. The reflection in the water changed. Instead of the face of the stranger, it showed what you looked like now, pale, gaunt, and missing your eyes. They blinked up at you from the water's surface, but you could still see them somehow. The cold realization struck, Drowned Bridge had remembered your name. He, the version of you, stepped closer. The water didn't resist him. It welcomed him like he belonged to it. As he walked, fish floated to the surface belly up, their eyes milky and mouths wide as if screaming underwater. You called it by crossing. That's all it needed. Your breath, your pulse, your name. He pointed behind you now, his voice a croak. It followed you from the other side. It needed a body. Now it has one. You'll need to make a new one. You turned, slowly, fearing what stood there. And the thing behind you wasn't a person. It had your outline, sure, tall, slim, familiar in shape, but it didn't move like a person. Its joints bent the wrong way, twitching like a broken puppet dragged by unseen strings. Veins pulsed across translucent skin, glowing faintly blue like a corpse underwater, and in its chest cavity, where a heart should be, there was a slushing orb of murky water filled with spiraling glyphs that changed each time you blinked. It spoke without opening its mouth. The words pressed directly into your skull, take his place. Or remain forgotten. Behind you, the other you began to laugh, a dry, rasping sound like lungs filled with mud. It always comes full circle, he grinned. That's the rule of Drowned Bridge. Something gripped your ankles. You looked down to see hands, dozens, pale and bloated, clawing up from beneath the water. They didn't grab you in haste, but with something worse, familiarity. As if they'd done this countless times before. You kicked, screamed, tried to run, but your feet refused to obey. The creature was inside your muscles now, coiling through your nerves like roots through soil. You gave your name, it said. Now give your shape. You watched as the copy of you turned and walked back across the bridge, wearing your skin, your memories, your voice, while the thing behind you leaned in close and whispered, "You'll remember nothing until it's too late." The last thing you saw before the water closed over your head was the mirror version of yourself waving cheerfully at a car pulling up to the edge of Drowned Bridge. You heard them say your name. And then the screaming began.